Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Richard Moglen, and welcome back to another weekly Watchlist video sponsored by MarketSmith. And as always, we'll go through both the fundamentals and technicals of all the stocks on my focus list, and let's dive right in and start with ABNB, which has been kind of a mainstay on this list. And overall, what I really like about this stock is not really the growth numbers. The estimates are decent, they're improving, but the fund ownership and the amount of funds already owning this stock is really what stands out to me. So what I'm looking for here, it did try to retake the 50 SMA here on Friday and was rejected. So I'm kind of putting a pivot point at this high, and ideally we get some type of consolidation below that level, and then you can kind of use that point as a pivot point. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. It's also a potential double bottom using this as the kind of standard pivot. And then of course you've got the regular stage one pivot at 219.94. But ideally I want to get in well before that point. So that's ABNB, and moving on, we've got BLD, and overall decent growth numbers down here, nice earnings last quarter, after-tax margins strong as well, and we've got decent estimates for 2021, up 34%, in 2022 it's 17%, decent IBD ratings as well, composite ratings of 93, nice increase in fund ownership, and one high-quality fund in there as well. Looking at the chart, you can see it's still within this kind of stage 2B cup, and I'm using this high as a potential pivot along this right-hand side, and ideally getting in before the true breakout to all-time highs. But overall, definitely a little bit of a slower play, but decent considering that this is kind of what's working at the moment. Moving on, we've got Bumble, and this is a recent IPO. A nice increase in sales the past 4 quarters. Great growth estimates for 2022, not so much for 2021. Going to a weekly, you can see great growth kind of before the pandemic hit, but hopefully this picks back up once everything starts reopening and people get vaccinated and all of that. And looking at its technicals, you can see it's kind of within this IPO double bottom base here. This would be the standard pivot, but I'm looking to get in if it moves past this point and this point on above average volume. I like this bar here. It shows a little bit of support, but ideally I want to see a move up through these points on well above average volume. Next up, we've got CUBI, Customers Bancorp, and overall, a lot of banks look like this. Nice, strong uptrend, then a short, tight consolidation, often pulling back to the 21 EMA. So overall, looking at the earnings, you can see accelerating earnings the past 4 quarters. Sales decent, not explosive, but margins very strong as well. The estimates for 2021 are very strong, up 27%. The estimates for 2022 are actually down, but the most recent revisions for both are up. And overall, the composite rating is a nice 99. A nice accumulation distribution rating. Group RS is an A-. That's very strong as well. And this is one of the top stocks in the top 40 groups. Looking at the fund ownership, you can see a gradual increasing trend, but no high-quality funds in here. The RS line is rating all-time highs, and the overall RS rating is a strong 94. Next up, we've got GM, and overall, I'm watching this key level. Potentially, it pulls back, undercuts, and reclaims it, or potentially through this pivot on strength. Overall, nice earnings this past quarter, 999%. Decent estimates for 2021, and in 2022, a further increase of 19% is expected, although revisions are down, which does give me a little bit of pause, but overall, the chart is still pretty strong, and the composite rating is an 84, gradual increase in fund ownership, and fairly contra fund with a position. Looking at the RS rating, it's an A9, so not the greatest. This is a little bit of a slower mover, but it has shown that it can be a little bit explosive from this move from this stage 2 cup. So that is GM, and next up we've got IR, which if we go over to a weekly chart, you can see that the past few weeks have all been tight, and also at the bottom of this base you can see a bunch of tight weekly closes, which is a sign of accumulation. Looking over at the daily, I'm looking for a breakout through kind of this level here, or potentially an undercut and reclaim of the 21 EMA. Nice growth in earnings this past quarter, decent estimates for 2021, 2022, nice growth in fund ownership over the past 2 years, and for high-quality funds investing to this stock as well. So definitely some potential things that catch my eye, this fund ownership, and this most recent sales and quarter. Moving on, we've got KOPN, which is in the very strong kind of semiconductor theme. And overall, you can see nice earnings this past quarter, up 122%, sales up 59%. Not supposed to be profitable in 2021 or 2022. The overall comms rating is a strong 98. And you can see fund ownership actually is going down, which does give me a little bit of pause, but this would be kind of more of a swing trade versus a position trade. And overall, looking at the chart, it is right near its kind of descending trend line if we draw that in, and had a nice inside day on this past Friday. Next up, we've got LDI, and you can also draw this descending trend line here. And overall, you can see very strong earnings growth the past 4 quarters. It's supposed to earn $2.85 in 2021. The composite rating is pretty poor, as well as the industry group. And you can see there's no fund ownership just yet because this is a recent IPO. But I do like how on the first 2 days that this traded, you can see it had strong closing ranges and very high volume, even higher volume the second day than that first IPO day. So we'll see what happens. RS rating is pretty poor at 6, but this is a kind of recent IPO, so keep that in mind. And overall, it's been trading decently tight. It did kind of leak down here a little bit, but I do want to see it kind of hold this 20 mark, and I want to see it recover from this pretty poor close on Friday. So moving on, we've got LYFT, and if we go to a weekly, this is consolidating nicely right where you would expect it to under this key level. And overall, nice kind of 2 weekly closes here, well off the lows. Now going back to a daily chart, you can see that you've got a little bit of a pivot here, a nice end to the week on Thursday and Friday, or actually Wednesday and Thursday. This was a shortened trading week. Overall, not the greatest growth numbers. You can see it's not yet profitable, not supposed to be in 2021, but it is just supposed to be profitable in 2022. Overall composite rating is only a 63, but it is within the top 40 industry groups. Gradual increase in fund ownership and one high quality fund in there as well. So I'm watching for undercut and reclaim of the 21 or move through this level on volume and eventually challenge of these kind of intermediate 52-week highs. Next up, we've got ORGO, and overall you can see great earnings the past 2 quarters as well as sales and after-tax margins. In 2021, it is supposed to decrease in annual EPS from 2020, but it's supposed to increase 109% in 2022. And overall, the composite rating is a strong 97. It's not in a top industry group here, but you've got a nice increase in fund ownership, but unfortunately no high quality funds investing into this company. And overall, there is a nice kind of buy point a while ago. You've got a little bit of a high tight flag here, as well as a nice kind of tight area after its earnings gap up. But once again, it's kind of setting up here. But really, I'm looking for a flag to build out because at this point, it's only consolidated for like 8 days. So it definitely needs more time to build out a potential flat base or other type of consolidation to absorb the strong move and then potentially carry on with the uptrend. Moving on, we've got PII, Polaris, and you can see a nice pivot here, and it's right at the pivot of the stage 1B flat base. Overall, nice earnings the past 2 quarters, decent estimates for 2021 and 2022, not anything explosive. Composite rating is a 91. It's not in a top industry group, and you've got a gradual increase in fund ownership and one high quality fund in there as well. So I'm looking for an undercut and reclaim of the 21 or a move through this level on above average volume. Next up, we've got PINS, which is one of the strongest of the kind of former leaders. And overall, it just broke above the 50 SMA and this pivot on this past Thursday. But overall, I'm watching for kind of some consolidation, pull back to this level gradually, and then ideally a breakthrough this high right here. Overall, nice growth in earnings the past 2 quarters. Great estimates for 2021 and 2022. This is kind of one of the main reasons why I don't think this run is over, as well as it being just such a new company that just broke out and started its kind of institutional advanced phase above this IPO high. So we'll see what happens, but overall looks pretty promising. Composite rating is a strong 98. Internet content isn't a top group at this moment, but it has led in the past. Great growth in fund ownership and so many high quality funds in here. You've got 5. And overall, I'm watching this pretty closely to kind of work my way in to this potential leader. Moving on, we've got RBLX, Roblox Corporation, a recent IPO, and it can draw a pretty steep descending trend line here. It had a pretty poor close on this past Thursday, but we'll see what happens and if it can kind of form out a U and challenge these IPO all-time highs. And the standard pivot for the IPO base is 79.10, but ideally I'm looking to get into it before then. I like these bars right here. They show potential support here with strong closes off the lows. And overall, you've got accelerating sales the past 4 quarters. Decent estimates for 2022, and overall the comms rating is only a 21. This isn't a leading group at the moment, and no fund information just yet. Moving on, we've got Silvergate or SI, and overall you can see great earnings this past quarter, after-tax margins strong as well, and very strong annual estimates for 2021 of 50%, and a further 33% is expected in 2022, with the most recent revisions being up as well. The comms rating is a 99. It is one of the leading groups here at 13. Great growth in fund ownership and 2 high-quality funds investing into the stock as well. And it is pretty volatile here. This is about a 50% drop, then a 30% drop. So I'm looking for some type of consolidation, ideally something like this with a nice inside week, and then potentially using this as the pivot right near 150, or potentially if it challenges here and forms a consolidation up here as well, and then moves through this pivot right here. But overall, I need to be able to manage and define my risk. I'm not just going to buy this because I think it's a strong stock and it's related to Bitcoin. It has to meet a proper setup. So moving on, we've got SLQT, and overall nice growth in earnings the past 3 quarters. Most recently, earnings were up 139%, sales up 103%, and after-tax margins up 25.2%. And as well as very strong quarterly earnings, you've got great estimates for 2021 and 2022, 83% and 48%. Comms rating is not the greatest at 83, and the group is not strong as well at 173 out of 197. But overall, you've got a slight increase in fund ownership, and Fidelity Contra Fund just starting a position. And right now, looking at the chart, you can see it's moved out from this very large stage 1 cup with handle, and now it's right at the kind of turbulent zone. If we go to a weekly, we draw this over, and you can see it's just kind of very shaky here, as a lot of stocks do. And what I'm looking for is a consolidation here right near 30, a gradual pullback, and then potentially a break through this level once again. That would be ideal. So we'll see if we get that. But overall, like SI, this has to tighten before I would consider entering this stock. Moving on, we've got our last stock, X, and this is a steel company, which is one of the leading groups at this point. No real growth numbers here, but you can see very strong estimates for 2021, but they are supposed to decrease in 2022, which is one drawback here. Overall, the comms rating is only a 71, so really this is a play on the overall group. And you can see a natural decrease in fund ownership and no high-quality funds investing to the stock as well. Overall, looking at the technicals, it is pulling back to the pivot from the stage 2 cup with handle. So a pretty good low risk, high reward, potentially entry spot here. And ideally, I want to see an undercut and reclaim of this level, or a move through this high on above average volume. So that's pretty much it for my focus list. We've got a nice diversity here of former leaders that are building out the right-hand sides of bases. We've got some potential leaders from new emerging industry groups, such as KOPN from the semiconductor space, X from the steel industry, and we'll see what happens next week. If you enjoyed the video, please go ahead and leave a like down below. It really does help me out and my channel. Of course, subscribe if you are new. Looking forward to more videos just like this one every single week. Have a great rest of your weekend. Happy Easter to everybody who celebrates it, and I'll see you guys in future videos.